Your finger glow helps you become aware of the power inside you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So what's the latest scoop on School for Good and Evil 2? Well, here's the lowdown on everything we've got so far about the movie. Plus, it looks like the director of the Netflix movie has some big plans in store for the sequel. Let's dive in and see what's cooking. Director Paul Feig has dropped some tantalizing hints about the School for Good and Evil 2, the highly anticipated sequel to the hit Netflix movie based on Soman Chainani's best-selling novels. With a star-studded cast including Charlize Theron, Kerry Washington, Lawrence Fishburne, and Peter Serafinowicz, the film follows the journey of friends Agatha and Sophie as they navigate the magical realms of good and evil within fairy tales. The first movie left audiences on the edge of their seats with a gripping cliffhanger, as Agatha and Sophie found themselves torn between the School for Good and the School of Evil. After a fierce battle with antagonist Rafal, they narrowly escape back to their own world only to face new challenges when Tedros opens a gate between the two realms. With a narrator ominously declaring this was only the beginning, fans have been eagerly awaiting news of a sequel. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Feig shared his excitement about the potential for the School of Good and Evil to become a franchise. While acknowledging the richness and complexity of the source material, he expressed his desire to faithfully adapt the rest of the series into future films. With plans to delve deeper into the world and characters created by Chainani, Feig's enthusiasm has fans buzzing with anticipation for what's to come. Having that said, what could the School for Good and Evil 2 possibly be about? Well, with 6 books in the series to draw from, there's plenty of material for the filmmakers to explore. Based on Paul Feig's comments, it seems like the plot will follow the trajectory of the second novel, but with some twists thrown in thanks to the changes made in the movie's conclusion. In the second book, titled A World Without Princes, Agatha and Sophie return to their normal lives after their adventures in the magical realms. However, Agatha is filled with regret over how her supposed happy ending turned out. This sets the stage for a deeper exploration of the characters' discontent with their ordinary lives in Gavaldon and their longing to return to the fantastical world of good and evil. The sequel would likely delve into the transformed fantasy world, where unexpected alliances and brewing conflicts threaten the delicate balance between good and evil. Tedros and Agatha's romance may continue to play a central role, drawing them back into the magical realm as they confront new challenges and face off against a looming evil force. With a new Harry Potter reboot on the horizon, it's clear that the realm of magical schools and fantastical adventures is still a hot topic. And speaking of magical schools, director Paul Feig has recently come to the defense of his 2022 Netflix movie, The School for Good and Evil, in the face of some pretty harsh criticism. Adapted from Soman Chainani's book series, the film follows 2 best friends who find themselves thrust into the world of fairy tale heroes and villains when they enroll in separate schools. Despite the intriguing premise, the movie received a less than stellar reception, earning a meager 37% on Rotten Tomatoes. But Feig isn't backing down. He took to Twitter to express his pride in the film and its cast and crew, dismissing accusations that it's merely a Harry Potter ripoff. And he's got a point. While there are undeniable similarities, magical schools, sorting ceremonies, and a villain with a storied past, this School for Good and Evil carves out its own unique identity. For starters, the focus is on the friendship between Sophie and Agatha, rather than a single chosen hero. Plus, the theme of good versus evil is more pronounced, and fairy tales play a significant role in the narrative. Sure, there are parallels to be drawn, but the School for Good and Evil stands on its own merits. Despite Feig's impassioned defense, the harsh critiques have cast doubt on the possibility of a sequel. While the original book series offers plenty of material for future films, the lukewarm reception and uncertain viewership numbers may have sealed the fate of this magical tale as a one-off movie. So while The School for Good and Evil may not have the opportunity to become a series of films, it's clear that Feig is determined to set the record straight. His movie may have its flaws, but it's no mere rip-off. On the other hand, Rafal's dagger following Tedros' arrow through the vortex sets the stage perfectly for a sequel to The School for Good and Evil. Despite Agatha and Sophie's brief moment of happily ever after, it's clear that their peace won't last long if Rafal poses a threat again. Tedros calling for Agatha hints that their romantic story is far from over and will likely be further explored in the sequel. Additionally, the pierced vortex and Rafal's dagger could mean that their village of Gavaldon is also in danger, leaving Agatha and Sophie with no choice but to get involved. In the sequel book titled A World Without Princes, there are already some modifications from the movie version. While Tedros pierces the vortex in the film, in the books it's Agatha who does so in the sequel. However, the outcome remains the same as Agatha secretly desires a different ending and wishes to return to the school to be with Tedros. The sequel sees significant changes at the school, now divided into the school for boys and the school for girls. As Agatha and Sophie are chased out of Gavaldon due to threatening messages, Sophie reverts to her villainous ways, adding more drama to the sequel. The ghost of Rafal is revived by the new dean of the school for girls, Evelyn Sater, leading to a conflict where Sophie is torn between loyalty to Rafal and her friendship with Agatha. The sequel continues the physical and moral battles of the School for Good and Evil, with Rafal's dagger serving as the catalyst for the unfolding events. With that being said, in Netflix's The School for Good and Evil, the fairies aren't exactly the friendliest creatures that new students Agatha and Sophie were expecting. The reason behind their unkindness lies in one of the darkest aspects of the school's practices, transforming failed students into magical creatures. For instance, the fairies at the School for Good were once failed students of the School of Evil, while the wolves at the School for Evil were formerly students of the School for Good. The fairies' behavior toward the students of the School for Good, biting, pinching, and scolding, can be attributed to their past as students of the School for Evil. This depiction takes inspiration from actual folklore, where the Fae folk are often portrayed as mischievous rather than benevolent. In the twist ending, it's revealed that Headmaster Rafal was the true villain, manipulating students to blame those from the School for Good for their problems. However, it appears that Rafal hasn't directly involved the fairies in his schemes, they seem to act of their own accord. This suggests that their mistreatment of the good students isn't part of Rafal's grand plan, but rather stems from their own resentments. As for the fate of the fairies and the wolves after Rafal's defeat, the transformations will likely be reversed. The movie establishes that good magic has the power to undo transformations, as seen when Agatha wishes for a magical fish to return to its original form. Therefore, with the defeat of evil and the triumph of good magic, it's plausible that the creature's original forms will be restored. The School for Good and Evil ends on a hopeful note with the defeat of the Big Bad and the merging of the schools. Yet, the fate of the fairies remains unresolved, setting the stage for a potential sequel where their story may be further explored. And that wraps up today's video. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one. Don't forget to leave your suggestions for future videos in the comments below. See you soon!